Our Constitution was written to promote the general welfare of society, to secure liberty, and to provide for common defense. It was also written to establish justice and ensure tranquility, and to form a more perfect union. The rule of law is based on our Constitution and is carried out by the court. In the courts, no one is above the law nor below the law. The purpose of law is to protect basic human rights, to promote fairness, to help resolve conflicts, to promote order and stability, to promote desirable behaviors, to promote the will of the majority, and to protect the rights of the minority. Two types of laws include criminal laws and civil laws. Criminal laws involve public conduct and duties that are owed to society. A person may be charged with a misdemeanor or a felony. A felony is greater than a misdemeanor. Civil laws regulate interactions with individuals or groups of individuals. Punishment is usually a monetary reward. Civil laws are proved by a preponderance of the evidence. Hate crime is a criminal offense committed against persons, property, or society that is motivated in whole or in part by an offender's bias against an individual's race, religion, ethnic origin, gender, age, disability, or sexual orientation. Types of hate crime include violent crimes and property crimes. In order to determine hate crimes, an interview or investigation of the victim principal or witnesses must be conducted. There must be circumstantial evidence such as hateful speech or incitements. The proximity of events in regards to specific holidays are also important when determining a hate crime. Another way to determine hate crime is the principal's involvement in a hate group or organization. Hate crime varies from state to state. Some people believe crime affects society as a whole, and others believe that since we have laws already, that means some people are more important, which is not true in all cases. We need to react quickly to hate crimes because hate crimes cause a fear within the community that leads to more harm than good. Hate crime persecutes families. Bullying is the continual or consistent exposure repeatedly and over time to negative actions on the part of one or more persons where the victim has difficulty defending him or herself. Types of bullying include physical, verbal, emotional, sexual, and hate-motivated bullying. The old view of bullying is bullies are individuals with insecurities and that victims must stand up to their bully. However, more recently, bullies are believed to have a strong need for power and dominance. They find satisfaction in causing injury or suffering to others, and bullies are often rewarded in some way for their behavior, either materially or psychologically. There's no set way to deal with a bully, and the situation must be assessed. Because everyone responds differently, there's no way to tell when a victim of bullying will respond or how they will respond. 47 of the 50 states have set regulations against bullying. There are 17 states that address LGBT as a bias group. You are held accountable for bullying as a crime from the time that you are 10 years old. Crime scene investigation is the most important step when solving a crime. As a CSI, you are the first and most important step in preparing a case for investigation. As the first person on the scene, it is your responsibility for collecting and processing all of the evidence. When conducting an investigation, you must first start by securing the crime scene. This means that you must check for suspects and attend to any victims. You must also put up barricades and ropes to keep people from entering and contaminating the scene. You must also take a preliminary look around. When doing a walkthrough, make sure to establish key points, such as points of entry and exit, the site of the crime, and sites of evidence and secondary sites. Make sure you manage your time and resources wisely. It is important to record the scene because investigators have limited windows to work at a scene. These records help us revisit a closed case that has been released to the public. Records of a closed crime scene are useful in court. 3 ways that you can record a case include photography, sketching, and taking notes. By doing this, you are creating a paper trail for you, your attorney, and other investigators. When investigating a crime scene, it is important to use systematic search because this increases the likelihood of finding evidence and decreases the likelihood of missing evidence. Types of systematic searches include grid search, spiral search, line and strip search, and quadrant searches. As an investigator, you must collect and package evidence. Your first priority is to maintain the integrity of the evidence. It is important to present the evidence intact. Do not remove hair or fibers from the object. Make sure the entire object is sent to the lab. When collecting similar evidence, package each piece separately. The bags must be content-specific and size-specific. It is important to maintain the chain of custody. Standard reference samples are important because they are needed to eliminate or verify people as victims, suspects, or witnesses. It is important to maintain safety at the crime scene because you can contract deadly diseases. By doing this, the International Association of Suggestions has created guidelines. When investigating a crime scene, it is important to follow legal procedure. Keep in mind the Fourth Amendment and regulations. Fingerprints are the oil that is left on an object after you have touched it. They are unique because of the way they are developed while you are in the womb. Life experiences that happen can change your fingerprints, such as cutting yourself or using chemicals that wear away the prints. The frontal loop points towards the little finger and the radial loop points towards the thumb. In order to match fingerprints, there has to be 12 different points that have distinct characteristics. Fingerprints are usually scanned in via computer. If computers are down, ink will be used. When fingerprinting a crime scene, investigators use powder and a brush to uncover the fingerprint. Facial reconstruction is a 3D technique used to give depth to skeletal remains that have not yielded identification through other tactics. It is used only when you can't identify DNA or bone marrow, and it is the last resort. Forensic anthropologists use facial reconstruction. Other techniques for facial reconstruction include 2D techniques such as photo of skeletal remains from various levels and an overlay of photos of suspects to identify characteristics. It is different from a forensic sketch because it is going off of skeletal remains, and a forensic sketch is made off of what the witnesses say. Facial reconstruction is not very reliable, however, it is helpful. Knowledge of the human anatomy and sculpting abilities help with facial reconstruction as well as math skills. The skull takes the longest of all bones to decay. Bones can tell us the age of the victim from sizes and the gaps between bones, as well as soft spots and brittle spots, and the number of teeth and dental work done. Bones can tell us the age of the victim from sizes and the gaps between bones, as well as soft spots and brittle spots, and the number of teeth and dental work done. Bones can also tell us the gender of the victim. Males tend to have bigger skulls, jaw structures, hips, and pelvic areas. The bones can tell us past injuries as well as the cause of death. Bones are able to tell us the racial background because each racial background has a different shape of a skull. However, bones can't tell us the eye color, hair color, or style of the victim. Any court case may be described as a battle of the bold. During a trial, there are many steps. The first step is individuals are arrested. Then the accused must go through the arraignment. This is when they are brought before the judge, and they must decide whether to plead guilty or not guilty. The charges and pleas are presented at this time. Next, a bail is set. For lesser crimes, a bond is set, or there may be jail time. For greater crimes, there is jail time. The next step is a pretrial motion, and then we move on to the trial. During the trial, the charge is read to the jury, and the jury receives instructions, deliberates, and gives the verdicts. After which, if the accused is found guilty, they are sentenced, and they must serve their full sentence. Special cases, such as juvenile cases, do not have a jury, and the defendant may be able to change their plea midway through the case. There are different people involved in a court case. The defense tries to prove the defendant's innocence. The defendant is the person being charged. The prosecution, or plaintiffs, try to prove the defendant guilty. There is also the judge, the jury, the stenographer, who records the proceedings, and the bailiff, who is the policeman. The proper courtroom procedures are as follows. First, the opening statements are read by the prosecution and then the defense. Next, the prosecution calls up their first witness. The defense may cross-examine this witness afterwards. The prosecution may then redirect. The defense then calls up their witness. The prosecution may cross-examine this witness. The defense may redirect. After the testimonies, the closing arguments are read. During a case, attorneys may ask irrelevant or inappropriate questions. However, objections by the opposing side may be made. These objections may either be sustained or overruled. It is also important for attorneys to follow specific steps when entering evidence into the court and when they are qualifying someone as an expert. Although there are many different classifications of drugs, we learned about 4 in class. The 4 we learned about are depressants, stimulants, narcotics, and hallucinogens. Depressants slow down the central nervous system. Examples of depressants are alcohol, Xanax, and inhalants. Stimulants speed up messages in the nervous system and cause anxiety. Examples of stimulants are cocaine, caffeine, and tobacco. Mixing depressants and stimulants can be fatal. Narcotics have the same effects as depressants by blocking pain or the messages to the brain. Examples are opiates such as heroin, morphine, and opium, as well as painkillers. Hallucinogens distort your messages to the brain by causing hallucinations. Examples of hallucinogens are marijuana, LSD, PCP, shrooms, peyote, and ketamine.